Yes man. The yes man joined. You work for Trump or Putin? That's all that they have over there. Hey, John Williams. How you doing tonight? Hey, Darlene. Hey, PH. Hey, PT. To give you some idea of what kind of a day it's been, holy shit. I just spent 5 minutes looking for my selfie stick that I use to hold up the phone for all of these things because it never leaves the table. It never leaves the kitchen table. It's always right here. And it wasn't here. I couldn't find it. It was standing up. It was right here the whole time. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Hey, Pagan. Good evening. Not for Putin, it's not. Hello from Norway, Pucks. Hey, Jeffrey. Hey, Jay. Craziness, Edward. Crazy day. I mean, I woke up to Russia on fire. Hey, Mad Mike. Hey, Nightshade. I woke up to Russia on fire, planes falling out of the sky, and an incursion into Russian territory by the Freedom of Russia Legion, the Volunteer Corps, and the Siberian Brigade. I mean, unbelievable. Hey, Annalata, how you doing? There's Vanetta. Hey, Vanetta. How you doing? Pugga Mahone, ridiculous. Like, ridiculous. I have been going, I rolled out of bed, about 8:30 this morning, and I have not stopped since. Advanced age with forgetfulness. Leo Ring, you are not kidding. And blindness. Like blindness and stupidity. Hey, Richard. Unbelievable. Starting to get old. No, I'm just old. Hey, Latvia. Hey, Sharon Davies. Sharon Davies is on time. Hey, Parda. How you doing, pal? I saw an announcement from the Pentagon that said that $400 million is PDA. I don't think you did, Vanetta. There is 300. Now, there's 300 million. Maybe there's another 400 million I don't know about yet. But there's 300 million in aid to Ukraine that is on its way, and we'll talk about that in 1 second. Parda, we are not early, technically, because the time of this live stream is always tied to New York time. And New York has done daylight savings time. And for the next 3 weeks until March 31st, we will only be 5 hours apart instead of 6 hours apart. And so we'll resume the regular schedule after March 31st. Better for you. Well, you got 3 weeks of this, pal. It might be better for you. It is not great for me. Hey, Big Hawk, thanks for dropping by, pal, and cheering us on. Whatchamacallit, it is not great for me, guys. I got to tell you, I really missed that extra hour because, you know, I do a lot of other shit during the day. And so I literally just walked in the door 20 minutes ago. I did not have any time to get out my nice notebook, right? You guys know I write everything down in the notebook, so I have it. And there's nothing in the notebook for today. There's nothing in the notebook for today or yesterday. I'm doing this all on the fly right now. Sleep is overrated, Fitz. I couldn't agree more. There's time to sleep when you're fucking dead. Am I right? Hey, Alex, thanks for the roses. Rose. Hey, big spender. Biden just lost. Oh, God. Cheyenne, save me from myself, please. Hey, Slee. Hey, Goonerman. Yorkshire Tea. How much air straight How much from drones even Russia had in the last 24 hours? Oh, how many airstrikes from drones even Russia had in the last 24 hours? A lot, Sanjis. There were reportedly 9 oblasts in Russia hit overnight by Ukrainian drones. We know that the oil refinery in Kostovo was hit and is out of commission. That's the 5th oil refinery. They only got 22 that work. They have some more, but they don't work. So the Kostovo refinery, Lukoil, is out of commission, is the word that I'm getting here. The oil depot in Kursk that was hit, at least 2 3,000-ton tanks went up in smoke. It's not clear what was in those tanks, whether they were gasoline and other refined oil products or just crude oil. But you've got those two. Then you got the power station in Russia is on fire. There's no two ways about it. Now, that's on top of what we saw over the weekend, right? Over the weekend, we saw the Polkavo airport hit. That's the largest airport, if I'm not mistaken, it is the largest airport in all of Russia. It's the St. Petersburg International Airport. It was financed, its reconstruction was financed back in 2010, 2012. They put the plan together, something like that, with at least $20 billion from foreign investors. And about 3 months ago, Russia nationalized it. They took ownership of it. What's particularly interesting about that airport and the nationalization of it is that 2 of the countries involved are Arabic countries, friends of Russia, neutral in the war, not applying sanctions, buying Russian oil, paying over the price cap, doing business with Russia, the UAE and Qatar. The UAE has only recently stopped financing the purchase of Indian oil, which has led to the collapse of Russian oil sales to India, and because they're worried about secondary sanctions. So this was the first time that the Russians had nationalized the interests of a foreign entity that was a friend of theirs. And we have yet to see the fallout from it. And I think the reason why is because the Russians have said to their Arab partners, look, guys, we're taking over the business, but you're still getting your cut. We're still going to pay you. You're going to get your money. And I would guess that these guys are waiting to see, are they going to get their money? That is my guess. So Poltava burned this weekend. A drone struck a hangar in the industrial portion of the airport, right, where the big carrier jets are that get loaded with product for all over Russia and make sure that, you know, the soap detergent that you need gets to where it needs to be or whatever. The warehouse burned for 2 days, and everything in it burned as well. And there must have been some kind of industrial solvents or chemicals in there because the locals reported the air was acrid and that just to breathe it burns your throat, burns your nose, burns your lungs. So not a good scene. What else burned over the weekend? There was something else. Oh, right. I'm sorry. I misspoke earlier. The oil depot that was on fire this morning was in Oriel. The Kursk oil depot burned over the weekend. Yeah. Russia's getting hit left, right, and center. Is Clay here? Oh, you saw this, Clay. Anyway, it doesn't matter. A funny thing. Oh, and the building materials warehouse. Thank you, PT. You are absolutely correct. The building materials warehouse also burned this weekend. Thank you. There was a demonstration. I love this for the Russians. There was a pro-Putin political demonstration in Chechnya. And, they were all out there rah-rah ahead of the elections, which are coming up this weekend. The 15th to the 17th are the elections. Now, the pro-Putin demonstrators, turns out they were all paid employees of the Chechen government who were told it was mandatory to be at this rally, or they were students in the National University there in Chechnya who were told by their professors mandatory attendance at this rally. My favorite pictures of the rally are afterward, where there's just hundreds and hundreds of Russian flags casually tossed into the trash. It's really something. It's really something. The Pope opened his mouth and inserted his Liberace-shoed foot by suggesting that Ukraine should raise the white flag, which is just an obscene and immoral statement to make. Now, hey, Bobby, how you doing, pal? Now, the two big stories today, of course, are the aid package from the United States and the incursion into Russia by the Russian Freedom of Russia Legion. So it's important to understand there are three partisan groups made up of Russian citizens who are dedicated to overthrowing Putin. They are the Freedom of Russia Legion, the Russia Volunteer Corps, and the Siberian Brigade. The Siberian Brigade. I love those fucking guys. We think maybe, this is not confirmed, but we think maybe there are 6,000 of them altogether. And today, using tanks that are Russian tanks that have been rescued or captured from the battlefield in Ukraine, they made an incursion into the Belgorod and Kursk oblasts, right on the border with Ukraine, and they took two towns. That's according to the governors of Kursk and Belgorod. So they are currently occupying two towns inside of Russia. There was great footage that the Siberian Brigade published of them chasing Russian regular forces out of the town, and the Russians abandoning their equipment. Now, it's most likely, I would think, that they're not going to go any farther, and that what they will do is they will capture all of that Russian equipment and bring it back for their own use. Maybe along the way, if they can convince a few more Russians to join them, they'll leave with more men than they came with. What we really need here, what is needed more than anything, is a 1917 moment, right? A moment where 1 million Russian soldiers walk off the battlefield because they have had it. And I don't know that that's ever going to happen. I don't know that we're ever going to get to that point. But if the Freedom of Russia Legion keeps winning, they may draw active units inside of Ukraine to their cause. Now, if something like that happens, that could be good for everybody. That could be good for everybody. And yes, I don't think that there's any doubt. I mean, I don't think Ukraine actually denies arming them, but I don't think they admit it either. I think that they're quiet on that point. And it is important to remember that everybody in those brigades are Russians who, when Putin called for his mobilization, left Russia, came to Ukraine, and joined the army to fight Putin. And nobody has more of a claim on the right to do so than the Russians are the Russians themselves. They are fighting for their freedom. As the representative of the Siberian Brigade said today, today is the beginning. Today is the beginning of the march on Moscow, where we will free our Russian people from the crime, poverty, and terror that this illegal regime that has stolen power has inflicted upon our Russian people. It was a good speech. These are not former POWs. These are not Russian regulars that were captured. No. No. It's a long slog, and I don't expect them to make that march today. My expectation is that they are going to capture as much equipment and ammunition as they can, and they're going to get the fuck out. That's my expectation. Now, please, I would love for them to prove me wrong and make some real progress here, or get some converts to their side. Those Russian POWs went somewhere. Well, there's 17,000 of them sitting in a POW camp in Western Ukraine. That's definitely true. Right, see, somebody says here, Ant says he's got friends in the International Legion, French friends in the International Legion, and they are not allowed to set foot inside of Russia. The Ukrainians, with the exception of some special forces that have done some cross-border raids, the Ukrainians don't go into Russia. In the Avdiivka direction, the Russian advance has been completely halted. Apparently, the Russians changed tactics again because of the shell hunger of the Ukrainians. They've started doing large column assaults again. The only thing is, the Ukrainians seem to have gotten their hands on some shells. The Danes were supposed to have sent all of their shells. The Latvians sent a bunch of shells. The EU promised 170,000 shells before the end of March. And it looks like the Ukrainians have got their hands on some fucking shells because they're blowing the shit out of every armored column that makes an advance west of Avdiivka. There's great footage online of a 13 armored column in the Kupiansk direction. 13 armored vehicles, 2 tanks, 11 BMPs, smashed to smithereens, everybody liquidated. And there's another one of a 10-vehicle armored column down around Ivaniska, eliminated. There's another one of like a dozen or so vehicles. I mean, it's just all up and down the line. They've readopted this tactic, and it's costing them men and vehicles like mad. I mean, you can see the daily figures are over 900 lost Russians every day. It's bad. It's bad for them. And more importantly, while they're on the front line trying to grab a few hundred meters and it's costing them hundreds of lives, their country is being hollowed out behind them. Ukraine is winning the deep battle. You don't see strikes on Ukrainian infrastructure the way we're seeing strikes on Russian infrastructure. Not even close. It's quite a thing. So it's my opinion that we will see the Freedom of Russia Brigade, the Russian Volunteer Corps, and the Siberian Brigades withdraw from the territory of the Russian Federation in short order. I mean, they may push their luck and stay there as long as they can, but, you know. Okay. Russian business. Oh, I'm sorry. The other big story today is the USA package, right? Now, this is a tricky thing, guys. But according to Major General, press spokesman for the Pentagon, Major General Pat Ryder, announced today a new aid package for Ukraine that consisted of, he told us, air defense munitions and shells. I assume 155 millimeter NATO standard shells. The problem is it's only $300 million. Now, that may sound like a lot, but if 200 million of it is for 155 millimeter shells, let's say, well, that's about 70,000 shells. 70,000 shells is about 10 days worth of shooting for the Ukrainians. It's about 10 days. If they want to match the Russians, they're firing off about 200,000 rounds, shells, mortar shells, or I'm sorry, artillery shells, a month, 200,000. So that's about 10 days worth of shells. It's a drop in the fucking bucket. And what does it leave you with? $100 million? What's that? 100 air defense missiles? 100 Patriots? Give me a fucking break. That is not, I mean, thank God they found a little bit of money and some ammunition. It's better than nothing. You're right. You're right. Who is that? Comaxel. Comaxel 12 says at 70,000 they didn't have, my man. And he could not be more right. Okay? But dude, the fucking Congress has to do their job. This obstructionist, Mike Johnson, is ceding our leadership position in the world. He's betraying the commitments that we made to these people when they gave up the third largest nuclear arsenal in the Budapest Memorandum. Now, the question has come up of where did they get this money? Moscow Mike Big Hawk, exactly. Jeff, it's my understanding that a discharge petition is being worked on, but obviously they're not going to bring it public until they have the votes, right? But it's my understanding that there are a bunch of Congress people in the background working on a discharge petition. Now, where did the money come from for these shells, right? Because we hear Biden can't do anything. He doesn't have any money. He doesn't hold the purse strings. That's Congress's job. Okay. According to Major General Pat Ryder and, oh God, the national security guy, Jake Sullivan, the money came from contract reimbursements to the Pentagon. So what happens is sometimes the Pentagon places an order and the manufacturer can't deliver. Or sometimes they place an order and then they decide to cancel halfway through. And then they're entitled to a refund. So the Pentagon has been carefully hoarding these refunds since the beginning of the fiscal year, apparently, in October. And they've managed to accumulate $300 million. Again, this is an agency that spends nearly $1 trillion a year. So for them to get $300 million in refunds and put it aside is not much of anything. Now, ooh, James, that's interesting. Hold on, everybody. James Aldridge is saying something very interesting here. Can anybody confirm this? Ken Buck is quitting the House next week. That leaves the Jesus Weasel with 1 seat majority. So I don't know who Ken Buck is. I assume he's a Republican. What will happen to his seat? Is it the kind of thing where the Republican governor will appoint somebody to finish out the term, or will there have to be a special election? What gapped to the Budapest Agreement when Crimea was attacked? Fucking Hillary Clinton. Fucking Hillary Clinton. That's what gapped. Jesus Weasel is good, isn't it? Mushroom Man. I like it. Republican from Colorado. Well, thank you, James. I'm going to look at that, man. I'll do a video about it tomorrow. Okay. Now, what else? So we talked about the questions about the Freedom of Russia Legion, questions about the money or the U.S. aid package, questions on any of that before we move on. Well, I mean, that person wasn't wrong. It was a Democratic administration that let the Ukrainians down in 2014. It was. Let's own it. Hey, geezer. Putin rebuilding Mariupol, and now all evacuated people turn back in there, locals, not Russians. That's just a lie. I mean, that's not true in any way. There's nothing true about that. Hey, these problems go back a long way, Tom. I don't know that we can blame that situation on Hillary Clinton. There was also a naivete expressed by Barack Obama in his dismissal of Putin as a regional power, Russia as a regional power, not a world player. And he wasn't wrong, but you have to take into account that the Russians don't think of that way. Zash, you don't have any friends. Okay. I took care of it. It's all right. Hey, Rational Squirrel. Oh, no, you start saying things like that, Tom, you're getting blocked. It wasn't revealed in the media. Ooh, it's all a conspiracy. Shut the fuck up. Okay, what else? Russian bankruptcies are up 60% year over year, with 771 businesses declaring bankruptcy in Russia last month alone. It's a big deal. Armenia, of course, is leaving the CSTO and is looking at an EU bid. We got satellite imagery from the A-50 repair facility in Taganrog, and that satellite footage shows 3 holes in the roof of the hangar and the adjacent repair facility. We don't know the extent of the damage to the A-50. We don't know if the drones bounced off the roof and just blew holes in them, or if they crashed through the roof and exploded inside on the plane. So we're waiting for some, evidence as to what happened inside the hangar, but we don't have it yet. It looks like that the Russians lost 2 planes today. There is the possibility that the Su-27 shot down in Belgorod was shot down by the Freedom of Russian Brigade. It is possible that they hit it with a man-pad. Now, there are rumors of that. We don't have that confirmed. Hey, Clay. The other plane, of course, that they lost was an IL-76. That plane went down because of a critical malfunction. There's great video of the plane. I shouldn't say great. I mean, there's awful video of the plane on fire and crashing. And that was in the Ivanovo area of Russia, which is just east of Moscow. The Ukrainians hit the command and control surveillance post on a beached Russian oil tanker on the Kinburn Spit. So apparently this oil tanker got grounded here when they blew the Novokakhovka Dam. And the Russians took it over recently to use it as a radar surveillance spy command and control center. And the Ukrainian Air Force hit it and destroyed it and everybody inside. It's a good hit. Ukraine won its first Oscar. Unfortunately, it was for 20 Days in Mariupol. The director's speech is compelling and moving. And, as an actor, as a guy who's been involved in the entertainment industry, I can tell you, a lot of people in that business, they dream every day of that moment, that day that they hand you the golden statuette, the ultimate acknowledgement of your peers that you're among the best at your craft. And the gentleman in his speech said very clearly that he would much prefer to have not had to make that movie and to not have that Oscar. And there be no war. And that's something. And I'm quite certain he means it. That's it, I guess. I guess that's the news, guys. I think I covered everything here. I did also post a video today. Tonight, I was at English stand-up in Kyiv. I did my second stand-up event ever, and it is not completely terrible. So the video is on the profile if you want to check it out. Okay. 20 Days in Mariupol was on UK TV last night. Was it Cake Boy and Banjo? Because I know BBC's been charging like £4.50 or something for it off of YouTube. You got to watch 20 Days in Mariupol. You got to watch 20 Days in Mariupol. It's intense. It's intense. And I mean, I don't know. I didn't see all the Oscar competition. I don't know if the guy really deserved Best Director or if it was just, you know, a political vote or what. I mean, it was pretty fucking well directed, I'll tell you that. And if you have not seen it, I cannot encourage you enough to see it. And to then encourage other people to see it. The Bard. I mean, is that your handle, The Bard? Or is it Thebard? Is that all one word? Or is it a Shakespeare reference? Well, this guy says, I love that you're not fake news. Well, I am just about as not fake as anything you're going to find on the fucking internet, pal. I'll tell you that right now. I'm just about as not fake as they come. What does Russian media say about the people going against Putin? The Russian media does not talk about Putin's adversaries. Navalny was hardly mentioned in the Russian media. Hey, Valley, how's things in Odessa? Everything quiet tonight, pal? We had a couple air raid alerts today. We had 3 air raid alerts today, but I didn't hear any aircraft fire. The show didn't get canceled or anything. The fuck? In the past 39 months, I don't know what you're talking about. Navalny had a Nazi tattoo, correct. Not as far as I know, Clayton, but I'm not a fan of Navalny's. I did not see him the way that most of the West sees him. I saw him as just Putin light. So, I mean, I'm not a fan, and I don't know about any Nazi tattoo on him. That sounds like Russian propaganda. I read that Kyiv had its 1,000th air raid since 2022. Is that true? It could be. We had 3 today. Huggins says, maybe give a warning about the movie if you have weak nerves. It's a hard movie to watch, guys. It's a hard movie to watch. What do you think the Russian Freedom Brigade meant by their going to the elections? Nicola, I don't know. There aren't that many of them. I don't know how they can do much. Maybe they're the reason that there's a terror warning in Moscow from the U.S. State Department. I don't know. Oh, Russell, if you're talking about 20 Days in Mariupol, it's a documentary, right? Those guys lived those 20 days. Yeah, Navalny was no liberal Westerner bringing democracy to Russia. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But he was an anti-corruption politician. He did have some kind of moral compass. Hey, Pedro the Amigo. Hey, Pavel. Right, Russell. Exactly. Navalny was a very limited individual. But he was a fuck of a lot better than Putin, huh? Fuck of a lot better. That's for sure. Guys, if you like what I do, please like, subscribe, and share. I have a TikTok subscription. You can, subscribe to that. Tonight is brought to you by Fitz. Fitzy. Is Fitzy here? Dark Irish is the sponsor of tonight's live. Tonight and tomorrow. And he's been hanging around, running his mouth. Big fucking mouth. These Irishmen and their big mouths. See, he's even eating dinner right now. What are you shoveling into that big mouth? Thank you, Fitz. Does Kremlin or media talk about the Russian Freedom Brigade? Simon, I have seen no coverage of that in the Russian media. Now, that doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. I have not seen any. But I do watch that media quite a bit. Yeah. So, yeah, big thanks to Dark Irish. Really helped me out there. And guys, if you want to help me out, join the Patreon, please. If you join at the $30 a month level or more, you get a video sponsorship every month. I just did them for the month of March. Everybody should have seen theirs. Legion Russia waiting for the next day. They writing Freedom Russia coming. Yeah, I think it's more likely that they're going to withdraw with whatever they can steal. So if they can get their hands on some fuel trucks, some armored vehicles, that kind of thing, I think they're going to take them and run. But maybe I'm wrong. It would be great to be wrong about that and that they have a bigger plan at stake. Or maybe there's a bunch of, there's 11,000 regular Russian troops in Belgorod right now. About 11,000. Maybe some large company of those are getting ready to defect to the Freedom of Russia Brigade. Wouldn't that be something? That'd be a hell of a thing. Thanks, Julian. Never trust an atom. They make up everything. You get it? You get it? The Ukrainians took a minute to get that, but it did finally sink in. Freedom Legions are still pushing. If they're still pushing, they got to be hooking up with somebody else. There's 11,000 Russian regulars in Belgorod. Could you imagine if half of them were ready to defect? If some big company or brigade-sized group was ready to just start pointing their guns at Moscow? Yeah, it did say that, PT. The video said we will be here on Election Day. Yeah, let's not get our hopes up. Clay's got a question. What are the 1 to 3 best things you can do to help Ukraine? Clay, obviously, the first thing that, anybody with a little extra money can do is go to united24.gov.ua. I'm pretty sure, Vanetta, you know the link. Would you put that up, please? Or Cheyenne, who's ever there. Yeah, I already done it. Of course you did. So the very first thing that you can do is you can go there and you can donate. If you have $5, $10, $20, $500, $5,000, $5 million, whatever you got, any little drop in the bucket makes a difference. Remember what Zelensky said. There are 2 things to remember. Zelensky said, in a big war, there are no small acts. My little TikTok channel is not a big deal. My little TikTok channel is not going to win this war. If I fell down a flight of steps tomorrow, the Ukrainians would still win this war. But every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. So in a big war, there are no small acts. And then, you guys know I'm not religious. But there are a couple of things in the Bible that they got right. And one of the things that's in there says To those to whom much has been given, much is expected. And give according to your means. You got 4 kids and you and the wife are both working jobs. You don't have a lot of money to spare. But maybe the kids, maybe some night for an art project, the kids can make pictures that will be sent to Ukrainian soldiers in the field that when they get them will be meaningful to them. That kind of shit goes on. There's a million different art projects, a million different support projects. There's a million different fundraisers. There's a couple friends of the channel here, right? Fast Angels, Tony Takiri out of Finland, who drives support into Ukraine. He's a good guy. He tries to do everything he can. The Spirit of Ukraine Foundation, you can check them out. The Kitchen Ants, where I've worked, I've been in that kitchen. I've put together soup packets for the guys at the front there. Sliced apples to put them in the dehydrator to make apple chips. You know, they supply about 20,000 meals, freeze-dried or, dried meals to the front line every month. And they always need help. They need help in person, actual manpower there to do the work, and help buying the food or food donations. So you can support those charities. Then the other thing that you can do as an American or as a person in any democratic country, you can contact your elected representatives and make it clear that you want your tax dollars supporting Ukraine. There are 3 things that we do on this channel. We disambiguate Russian disinformation. We hope to foster a community of active people who are working in their communities to bring attention to Ukraine and to get their legislatures to support Ukraine. And then finally, we work to keep Ukraine in the front of everybody's mind, because I don't think there's anything more important going on in the world today than what's happening here. And I know that Gaza and Israel are important, and I know that it's a sin and a tragedy and a nightmare what's happening there. But that's not going to destabilize the world, I'm sorry to say. I'm not sorry to say, it's just a geopolitical reality. What's happening here has the potential to unravel the rules-based international order. It's the real deal. If we don't draw the line in the sand here and Putin runs roughshod over Europe, the peace and prosperity of the post-World War II world is over. You can forget it. Clay, how'd I do? Ukraine is the giant domino. And the thing is, Bobby, I think it's going to fall the wrong way for Putin. And the dominoes are going to go the other way. I really do. Hey, Ryan. And I keep trying to point those dominoes. Simon, stop talking about a Trump win. That's not going to happen. Russia's falling apart day by day. They celebrate small victories with large casualties. Why is that? Russia, I think I missed, so posting now. Russia on fire. Vanetta has the link to the Google Docs share, and you can get, like, for Americans, you can get the discharge petition letter for your congressperson, that kind of thing. Any updates with Macron and NATO in Ukraine? Thank you, Peter. Is that Steph? Steph, I wouldn't expect to see any boots on the ground anytime soon. However, there is a growing coalition of those who say they're not taking it off the table. Now you got the Poles, you got the Lithuanians, you got the Canadians, you got the French. Somebody else too. I forget who. I don't think it was a Scandinavian country. I feel like it was warmer weather. I don't know. I said Poland. I don't think, no, not the Czechs, not the Dutch. I don't think the Latvians. It was the Lithuanians. I mean, I don't know. Are we just guessing or do you guys know? Did the Dutch step up? Biden is sending medium-range ATACMS with bomblets. Where? In this 300 million thing, Bobby? We'll come back to the F-16s in 1 minute. Couldn't there be boots on the ground disguised as volunteers? No. No. You're saying yes. Are you sure, Bobby? Because the press spokesman for the Pentagon said air defense and shells. Are you sure they weren't just cluster shells for the howitzers? That they were ATACMS shells? HIMARS ammo included? Well, Jesus, we can't be sending much of anything at all then. If it's split between all those, I mean that can't, for $300 million, you're not getting many HIMARS rounds, air defense rounds, and shells. ATACMS. Why wasn't that the top line in the general's press briefing today? Hey, Travis. Travis, did you see 14.3, man? Crazy. Hey, Angela, how you living, little sister bear? Hey, Sergey. I mean, it's like, I apologize. I forget who it was that said, it's better than nothing. It is better than nothing. Hey, Norway. Lars, you know this guy? Norway's small. You all know each other, right? Is there info when Ukraine will receive the shells from the Czech Republic? Within weeks is what President Pavel said. Now, on the subject of F-16, somebody asked about F-16s, and I said I would come right back to them. It's very foggy. We expect that by June there will be at least 4 graduated pilots back in Ukraine. The question is, will they have planes to fly? We don't know if Gerasimov is dead or not. Will they have planes to fly? When are the planes actually getting here? Now, we believe that there are 5 in country now at least. Could there be more? There could. It could be a secret, right? But we don't really know. It could be that they're keeping them outside the country until the last possible moment so that they are least susceptible to Russian bombing. It's hard to know, but I am hopeful that we'll see F-16s flying in June, although now I hear the talking heads from the Pentagon and other places at the Ramstein meeting saying July. Ugh, it's killing me. It's like a knife in my heart every time. Germany will not send Taurus, no. Nothing seems to be able to move these people in the direction of reason and rationality. Politico says the ATACMS are in the package. Thank you, Bobby. Does it say how many? It never does. Don't even bother. It never does. Truthful, are you in the Netherlands? Yeah, Kim Sam, Europe does need to wake up. You are not wrong. Geez, I need to wake up. I had a long day, man. I mean, I can't tell you how this day flew or really how satisfying it was. It's really very, very gratifying, this work. Yeah, James, you're probably right about that. Hey, thanks for that Ken Buck heads up. I'm really interested in that. I'm going to take a look at that. If the Russian Freedom Brigade to help... Wait, where'd that go? If the Russian Freedom Brigade is help the Ukraine to win, it's the best solution. Yeah, it's definitely one part of a comprehensive solution. F-16s are being consolidated in Romania. That could be. That's where the new training school is, right? There's a new training school for Ukrainian F-16 pilots in Romania. Have you had some food, Peter? I did, Anthony. I did have some food. Ryan, I assume that's a joke about the 7 Indian Man Special Forces Group, but I would like to point out that according to the Indian government, it is likely that as many as 15,000 Indian nationals have been shanghaied into the service of the Russian army against their will. And the vast majority of them are likely already unalived in the taking of Avdiivka. There were 32 Russian agents making a bounty on every Indian that they recruited. Van, 15,000. Now, that's an estimate. That's not confirmed yet. But it's right. There were 32 Russians operating for 6 months inside of India recruiting these kids. It's a sin. Is it any wonder why Russia doesn't give a fuck about losses? The losses in Avdiivka, various sources suggest that's somewhere between, at the low end, 16,000. And this is now, okay. So we have to make the distinction between estimates of KIA and WIA, or all up figures. At the lowest end, the Russian mill blogger, what was his name? The guy who ate a bullet. I can't even remember his name now. Damn it to hell. Muser. Anyway, a Russian mill blogger said that there were 16,000 KIA in the Avdiivka push in 4 months alone. MERS, thank you. Thank you, James. MERS. Now, these mill bloggers, I mean, a lot of times they spread disinformation, but when they're critical of the Kremlin, there's generally some truth to what they say, right? They are kind of the voice of conscience of the Kremlin, if you will. So I kind of think that his numbers are probably not far off. Now, the British MOD says they think that 20,000 were KIA in Avdiivka over 4 months. The all-up figure for KIA plus WIA for taking Avdiivka seems to be, the consensus figure seems to be somewhere between 40 and 50,000 people to take a town that only had 30,000 residents before the war. That's, Sergei, I've heard the same thing, that of all the battles in Ukraine so far, Avdiivka was the bloodiest and deadliest and most awful. Thanks, Eli. So tonight and tomorrow, if you see Dark Irish around, thank him. He is the sponsor of tonight's live and tomorrow's live. Eli will be sponsoring our live on Thursday. Eli is the sponsor of Thursday's live. And last night, of course, we had Lars from Encino Tech. So I want to thank all the live sponsors. I want to thank all the moderators, Cheyenne, Vanetta, PT, John Williams, Travis, and Jay. Best moderator team on the Tickety Talk. Keep saving me from myself every day. Big thanks to Nightshade for moderating the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces. If you're on the Book of Faces, join us over on Peter's Peeps. And big thanks to Lars, who's got the Discord server and does tech support for us. Thank you, Lars. I do have a great mod squad. Mod squad. Why didn't I think of that? Of course they're the mod squad. Duh. Of course you're the mod squad. Remember, those letters to Congress don't write themselves. That's the hand of Vanetta Larrett, V. Larrett. Contact her. She's got the link to the Google Doc share where you can get those prefab letters. And hey, if you're not an American, maybe check them out. You might want to adapt some of them to your own MPs or whomever. Please, that is what they are there for. That's what we're here for. If you like what we do here, please like, subscribe, and share. Maybe take up a TikTok subscription or join the Patreon. At the Dobrovicher level or higher, you get a video sponsorship every month. I could really use the help, actually. And it's just about the top of the hour. It is just midnight here in Kyiv. And I'm really grateful to all of you out there that are there for me. And I want you to know I'm going to be here for you. And I will keep trying not to be fake news and keep trying to bring you all the latest and greatest happenings on the ground here in Ukraine as this war trudges along into its third nightmarish year. Hey, Jason Willis Starrins. Dude, daylight savings time has us all fucked up. You know, the time of this broadcast is linked to New York time. The live at 5 in New York. It's not the live at 5 in Kyiv. Anyway. I have not met any Finnish... wait, have I? I'm not sure. I had a busy week. Somebody tried to bash my head in with a hammer. Making friends and influencing people everywhere I go. Where are you at, Clay? You're in the central time zone, right? So it's 4 in central, or well, it's 5 in central now. It was a comedy critic. It's funny you say that, Dark Irish. Chicago, Chicago, you're my kind of town. Dude, I love Chicago. Dude, on the subject of time zones and time changes and Chicago, I remember we were driving to Chicago to see my sister-in-law, my ex-sister-in-law. And my wife was like 6 months pregnant at the time. We're driving to Chicago, and I time it perfectly so that we hit the Indiana-Illinois border right at 6 o'clock, so we'll miss the worst of the traffic on the Danny Ryan Expressway, right? I'm such a fucking idiot. We hit the border, and 6 o'clock immediately becomes 5 o'clock, and we're in the middle of the worst of the traffic on the Danny Ryan Expressway. Unbelievable, dude. Dark Irish hates my singing. That's because he has good hearing and isn't tone deaf. But I'll never stop. I am from Scranton, Pennsylvania, Sergey. I am from the same. Yeah, right, Trav? I am from Scranton, Pennsylvania, Joe Biden's hometown. I share a hometown with Joe Biden. And it's also the home of The Office, for those of you who know the American television version of The Office. Thank you, Vanetta, for everything. All right, kids. I'm going to call it a night. Thanks so much for everything. Make it a great day. Thanks, Eli.